The American Cancer Society released a new set of guidelines for when women should get a mammogram. The group recommends women with an average risk of developing breast cancer should get a mammogram beginning at 45. That's instead of 40. Those annual mammograms then continue until the age of 54. After that, the guidelines say it should be every other year as long as the person is healthy. The Cancer Society also no longer recommends breast exams by a doctor or nurse if the patient has had no symptoms. The changes are supposed to address concerns about false positives that can lead to more tests, including biopsies. Dr. Darshan Gandhi, an oncologist from Methodist Charlton Medical Center, joining us tonight. Appreciate you being here. Let me tell you, you get on social media, a lot of people are upset and frustrated by these changes. What's your take?
Absolutely. And first of all, thanks, Heather, for having me here, and thanks for addressing this very important issue at hand. So if you think about it, there are multiple organizations that come up with guidelines for screening breast cancer. There are at least 8 or 9 I can think off top of my head. The problem is none of these guidelines match, meaning they're not on the same page. American Cancer Society historically has been quite aggressive as far as the screening goes. They've always advocated early screening, early mammograms, more frequent.
Early detection save lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you look at the timing of this change in guidelines comes in the heart of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right.
On one hand, we're asking women to get screened appropriately early, and now we have this new set of guidelines. So that has definitely created a lot of confusion in the minds of patients and the physicians and the primary care doctors who do screening all the time.
So is it the American Cancer Society then trying to get on the same page with these other groups so that there's no confusion of one group says 40 and one group says 50?
That is partly one of the reasons. Now, if you look at the history of all the guidelines, they have been based on, number one, clinical trials, where they take a set number of patients and follow them over time, over years, and see what happens. Are they able to decrease deaths from breast cancer? Are they able to decrease the mortality from breast cancer or not? Most of the robust data, as we like to say in the world of medicine, has come up lately. There was a large trial, more than 40,000 women. It was done in Canada, but there was a lot of criticism as to how the trial was done and the quality of the imaging studies and things like that. But I think that's part of the problem, that they are trying to catch up with some of the other organizations that already have guidelines. But then if you look at the language, how they term the recommendations, they keep it quite open to interpretation.
Well, I guess I just don't understand. I know they have the false positives and this high number of false positive when you're tested early, but for those patients, those women who you do catch it early, we hear those stories. We just heard it at Komen this past weekend, Race for the Cure in Dallas. I mean, if you're saving lives, what is the problem with getting early mammograms earlier?
Absolutely, and I can attest, based on treating my own patients in my clinic, I see young women in their 30s, for example, diagnosed with breast cancer who never had screening, or they did not have the access to get those MRIs or their mammograms, and you could have changed their lives. You could have saved them. You could have improved their chance of being treated. The problem, however, is that more and more of the decisions have moved to the insurance and payers. They are the ones who ultimately come in and approve the tests. And when you have 8 different organizations almost fighting with each other, coming up with very, very different set of guidelines, it is almost heaven for the insurance company to jump onto those.
Well, sure, because they're going to pick the one that works best for them, and it's going to come down to dollars.
Absolutely.
But they're not expensive tests. That's, I think, what's so frustrating. If the test that's $75 to $100 can save a woman's life, but there are a lot of women who don't have that money, and they need the insurance companies.
Absolutely.
To take care of it.
And not just that, there are societies out there. For example, Susan G. Komen.
Right.
And I work at Methodist Charlton Hospital. We have our own little fund where we help patients out if they don't have the right resources.
Right.
So there are resources available. As a physician, I'll tell you, Heather, if there is a patient and we are concerned about them, we're going to do everything we can to get it approved. Right. And that's where I think this shared decision-making comes into play. You sit with the patient, look to them in the eyes, and speak with them. These are the risks. These are the benefits. This is what we need to do.
People need to take care of themselves. Dr. Gandhi, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very
much. We sure appreciate it. Thank you. I know a lot of people are frustrated, but it comes down to the doctor, the patient, and people taking care of themselves.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.